Hi guys, it's Kelly Latavola here, and I'm back with another card for W+9. So it has been a minute since I have done a video. This card, which I totally loved at the end, actually took me forever. It was like the perpetual card. So I'm using Tropic Fever, the stamp set, and the dies. I showed you the Hibiscus Bouquet and the Birthday Wishes stamp set, but I didn't use them. I did use the Birthday Wishes die though. So you will notice that there's a couple of different nail polish changes and things of the like. This is because I filmed part of this before I moved, and I finished filming it after I moved. So first things first, I'm working on W+9 cardstock. I went ahead and put some repositional adhesive on the back of it, just a tape runner, and I'm working in the regular size Misty because I am using the large background stamp. It's like the trellis that comes in the Tropic Fever set, and I totally love this background. I think it's beautiful. I'm stamping this in Nautical Navy from W+9. And I did end up stamping it twice just because I didn't get up out of my seat and give it really good pressure the first time. If I had done what I was supposed to do the first time, I probably would have been completely fine. So with today's images, we are going to be doing some no line coloring. So I'm going to stamp down the palm fronds and then the leaves in two different colors. I used Beanstalk and Ocean Drive. All of the colors are W+9 colors. I stamped these basically as many as I needed to complete my card image. And then the actual flowers were stamped in VIP pink, which is a super bright pink, and I totally love it. I stamped out 3 of these before moving on to the next bit, which is going to be Copic coloring. No line coloring is typically very intimidating, even for myself, and there's only certain images that I still even have the courage to try with. But I try to get better about the flowers because I do love flowers. They just make me a little bit nervous because it can get blobby really quickly. So I just wanted to share some kind of tips and tricks that I've learned to help avoid that. Starting with my lightest color, which is an RV02, and then I'm laying down where my shadows are going to be. The way that this is drawn, the way it was illustrated, there's lots of grooves and, areas where it's higher or lower. This really helps to add to the dimension. When you're going through, there isn't a right or wrong way as far as whether or not a section is up above or down below. Just whichever way you decide that you want it to be, just commit to that. So you're always going to add your shading in that same spot. The petal sections, hibiscus are generally fairly flowy flowers. They're almost like crepey. So that would naturally have a lot of bends and folds in it. So these lines that you see me coloring here, you could go to the left or to the right of it. It wouldn't be wrong either way. It would just look different. And maybe one way you'll like it one way and one day you'll like it another way, and that's totally fine. I'm just going back through. So typically you watch my videos before, you've heard this 1,000 times. That's not true. I don't have 1,000 videos. I'm slightly exaggerating, but you get the point. Lightest to darkest, and then back from darkest to lightest. Now, you don't always have to put in your darkest colors into every nook and cranny. You want to put in enough that there's going to be some contrast, especially with no line coloring, because if you don't have any contrast, you will have a blob. The contrast is what kind of sets it apart so that each section is recognizable, but you don't necessarily have to put the darkest color in every area because in nature, it wouldn't always be all super dark. Also, because we're doing the no line coloring, this is going to look bad before it looks good. So just keep with it. You can see here I'm adding in the darkest color. I'm skipping a few of the bends and folds on the outside of the petals. I'm almost always adding it to the center of the flower because I do want that to be the darkest. I have a hard time skipping areas with my darker markers. That's just me. I want to put dark in all of the things because I want to make sure it's super dimensional. But sometimes forcing myself to create more variation leaves me with a result that I like better. So when I'm going back toward my lightest color, I'm only putting the RV09 where the RV69 is. There isn't a need for me to add it back in anywhere else. I'm really only just putting it in to kind of smooth out that color. You can start to see that we're filling in a lot of that white area as we're moving back toward the lightest color. This is, again, the technique that just works best for me because I do happen to be very heavy-handed with my darker markers. That's just me. I have to have a lot of control going into it, or I will end up with a super dark flower, which is not at all what I wanted. So the last color here we're going to go back in with, I didn't completely fill in, like I didn't take the side of the marker and just fill it in. I still continued to use those same flicking motions with just the tip of the marker. That's how I feel I get the best blend. And also it leaves me some kind of naturally placed white areas to really bulk up those highlights. That doesn't mean that you have to do that. You can totally fill it in if you want a solid pink flower. Also, stamping in, how about I say also one more time? What's the matter with me this morning? Anyway, so stamping in the VIP pink does create a stamen, the inside of the flower, that is pink. But because W+9 inks are alcohol-based, they kind of move and work with Copic markers or other alcohol-based markers. And I'm able to layer some yellows over that, and it doesn't look weird or strange. They work nicely together. For the extremely large leaves here, which I totally love tropical leaves, I'm just so... I know this is coming at the end of summer. It's coming at the end of summer because I told you it was the Perpetual Forever card. But I'll tell you about that in a minute. I'm super sad that summer's almost over. It feels like it goes by so fast. And then here in Ohio, you know, winter weather comes. I don't want to say we're not like full-blown blizzards and snow, but it gets pretty chilly by the end of September usually. So it just feels like it's cold all the time. So I'm very, very grateful for the summer months when they are here. School is starting back. That's interesting because for me, for the first time, I have a kindergartner. So he will be going to school full-time, which kind of terrifies me a little bit as a mama. But I'm also excited for him to go and learn new things and make new friends and have new experiences. So wish us luck on that. So I said this was the Perpetual card. So I started this card before I moved, and Christmas miracle, all of the pieces parts actually made it to the new house. Like, I didn't lose any of them. I can't even believe that. I thought for sure I'd have to recolor at least one leaf. But I didn't. It worked out. For the color combination here, I started with some G's, a G00 and a G02, which do lend themselves a little bit more to the blue-green family. Not when you put them right next to a blue-based blue-green. But they do work nicely together. So when I picked the color combination for it, I knew I wanted some pretty teal leaves. And I am adding a little bit of shading to the outside edge as well as to the inside vein of it so that it has a more round appearance. I wanted them to look like they were kind of rolling out. But so all my pieces parts made it. I couldn't believe it. And I have been trying to put this card together for probably like a solid month. The parts were laying on my desk and I would sit down to do it, and then something else would come up. I would sit down to do it and it'd be something with the dog or something with Peanut, or I would get sidetracked on the rabbit hole that is Pinterest or YouTube. Let's be honest. I'm not perfect. And so finally when I had gone on vacation. Went on vacation, had my little girls trip, and when I came back, I was like, it is legit a Christmas miracle that I have not lost one of these things yet. I need to put them, because all I had left was the assembly. I mean, that was really it. So I was like, I need to get this on a card, otherwise something's going to happen. I'm going to lose one, and then I'm going to be mad at myself because I didn't do what I was supposed to do when I was supposed to do it. So that's why you see a couple of different nail polish changes and some other things that are changed. So almost done with this leaf here. I'm basically terrified for school to start up. I saw a post on Facebook that says, let your kid be, you know, the weird kid, the loving kid, the strange kid, the art kid, the, you know, whatever, the barely made it kid. That was me. But don't let him be the mean kid. And that just so resonated with me, because I would probably be more upset. I mean, I would hate for somebody to bully my child. I'm sure at some point that's going to happen. Almost everybody is bullied at some point in their life, which is kind of heartbreaking. But I would rather my kid be bullied than be a bully. Like, that's how much I just abhor that behavior. So here's hoping he actually makes some really good friends and gets surrounded by, you know, a good group, and that's not something that we have to worry about, especially this early on. For the palm fronds, these ones are a little bit trickier because of the way that they're drawn. There's some that are behind and some that are forward. And yellow greens just aren't as distinct as the other color combination that I picked for the teals. So I'm adding a little bit of shading toward like the base of the stem, and I'm also adding a little bit of shading toward the top. But this YG17 is really where you're going to start to see the difference. And I'm being very careful to make sure I kind of outline right up against the edge of the palm frond that's on top of it to start to create that separation, so it is not really blobby. I don't have another word for it. Oh, yeah, no. Words are hard. Blobby is what I'm going with. So I'll be able to even kind of bolster that up even more with the YG67, and you'll see how they'll, you know, start to separate from each other. There's also two smaller ones in the back that are just almost like little tips, and you definitely don't want to miss adding some darker color to those. That's what's going to help them look like they are behind, by leaving the very edges of the palm fronds that are in the front lighter. It will bring them forward, and by making the bases of the ones in the back darker, it will push them backwards. So same. So lightest to darkest, darkest to lightest. I didn't really do any color mixing here. It wasn't really necessary. The YGs kind of, you know, really took it, you know, put it together. Once I had everything colored, I am going to use the coordinating die set to cut those out, because I did use that nautical navy with the background stamp. I didn't want to have to worry about masking anything. It was just easier to use the dies and pop them up, and sometimes it's true, sometimes it's just easier. So I have this goldish copper colored glitter paper from Simon Says Stamp. This stuff die cuts like nobody's business. I actually just had to order more because Christmas is coming, holidays are coming. I need that glitter paper. I need to have it in stock. So I'm putting some repositionable adhesive on the back of my flowers and my leaves, because this is what works best for me as far as finding some sort of arrangement. I don't have to chase them all over. I don't have to worry about one moving with the other. And then you saw me like tap it off with my fingers. That's just to make sure that it isn't too sticky. You know, they'll still stay where I want it, but they're not going to leave a ton of adhesive behind. I'm going to use the same Tombow Mono multi-glue. I die cut the birthday out of this glitter paper, and then I die cut a couple of more out of just white cardstock so that I could stack them up and it would be a fairly substantial sentiment. This is one of the best tricks to getting dimension to intricate dies. honestly, I don't know that I know a better way to do that. For the Happy, I cut that in the Nautical Navy cardstock. W+9 has matching cardstock for some of their colors. Nautical Navy is one of them. And so I die cut that out, and then I'm going to pop it up over a little strip of that same glitter paper. So when you look at it, they kind of cast a shadow a little bit. But I did have to cut some really teeny tiny little pieces of foam tape. It wasn't actually too bad. I've definitely had worse. So I'm going to put that on there. And then once I'm happy with where everything's going, I remove the sentiment so that I could go back in and really adhere everything down. I typically just hold it with one hand, use the adhesive with the other hand to make sure that nothing moves as I'm adhering it down. All of the leaves, whether they were the large tropical leaves or the palm fronds, were adhered flat, and then all of the flowers were popped up on Scotch foam tape. So I'm just going to show you the one because basically once you've seen it, you've seen it. But I don't like to leave things out in case anybody ever is new to card making or has, you know, any kind of questions. I like to kind of show you the whole progression. So once I messed around with this flower for a hot minute. I don't know what was going on there, but once I got it back where I wanted it, I went ahead and glued all the other ones down. Here we're going to do the sentiment. The birthday, due to the way that I arranged the flowers, kind of needed to be at an angle. But I actually thought it was pretty fun, considering the happy portion of it is so rigid. It's such a clean shape that having that birthday at an angle added a little bit more interest. And then I did kind of slide that happy a little bit underneath the B and the H in birthday, since it's script and they do stick up. I thought I was done at this point, and then I decided that I wanted to go back in. Oh, well, no, not quite yet, because, you know, I was going to add that glitter on there for real, yo. So at this point, I thought I was done, and then I decided I wanted to go back in and add some gold sequins. I just felt like I needed to fill in a little bit of that area, so I went ahead in, and that's why I've switched adhesives, because the glossy accents I typically fill the sequins with at the end, which you will see me do, but I don't usually adhere with it, even though most of the time we use glossy accents as, you know, something to make our projects glossy or glue things we would normally glue. It actually is an adhesive that will glue pretty much anything. So that's it. That's the whole card. Thank you guys so much for joining me, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.